Our very own JP Morosi is there and live on the inside corner. Lucky Duck. We have been debating all show long who is the face of Major League Baseball. So I ask you, who is the face of the game right now?
Great question, Lauren. You always ask great questions. That's a really great one.
I
would say
I'm
right now,
Go ahead.
it is. It is Aaron Judge, is what I would say. I think that's the correct answer at the moment. I think it's a fluid situation. It changes by the week, by the month, certainly by the year. But I would say right now, I think the correct answer is Aaron Judge. And what a great call last night by Matty V on that home run.
Yes, Dero said I should have prepared you for that question, but you're a professional, handles it perfectly. We were saying before this, Robert's a big fan of Sonny Gray, not just because of the success on the mound, but the confidence with which he carries himself. Where does it come from, JP?
Well, Lauren, I asked him that question yesterday about who his greatest influences have been to make him the pitcher and person that he is today, certainly in a baseball context, and he gave me three answers. Number one, his pitching coach, Derek Johnson, here with the Reds, who also was his pitching coach at Vanderbilt, the head coach at Vanderbilt, Tim Corbin, and also CC Sabathia. I think Sabathia was a really interesting question. Of course, we've all known about Sonny Gray's connections to Vanderbilt, but for him to say it was CC because of how much he really admired the way that CC handled the pressure of New York, even though Sonny Gray himself struggled a bit with the Yankees, he really enjoyed watching how CC put his full focus into that fifth day on the mound, his preparation overall, and the professionalism, how accountable he always was to his teammates. So that was a very interesting question and an interesting answer to Sonny. And I think overall, Lauren, his teammates here in Cincinnati have talked about just how much Sonny Gray, not just on the mound, but in the clubhouse, has emerged as the leader and one of the real consciences of this club.
I love that he's still thinking of contributors to his success. That's pretty cool. No Joey Votto behind him on the injured list. COVID-like symptoms, negative tests. Is that where we're at right now? Clarify for me.
Well, Lauren, Bobby Nightingale reported in the Cincinnati Enquirer yesterday that Votto was placed on the COVID-related injury list, but without a positive test. So that basically means symptoms, but no positive test at this point in time. Unclear, Lauren, how long he'll be on the COVID-related IL. Of course, as we know, you have to test negative multiple times to come off the COVID-related IL. It's not even clear, Lauren, if Joey Votto traveled back from Detroit here to Cincinnati last night. So his status very much a question. What we have learned in recent days is that even when players are on the COVID-related IL without a positive test, it still takes them a number of days to come back. So I would say the assumption, operating assumption right now is that Joey Votto likely will not be in the Reds lineup tonight.
Oh, we wish him well. Of course, same goes for all the Cardinals who tested positive. Imagine being stuck in that Milwaukee hotel, nowhere to go. Tell me they've left, JP?
Lauren, we don't know that yet. I was actually told within the last hour that it's unclear if the Brewers or the Cardinals rather will travel to Detroit today to begin their series against the Tigers tomorrow at Comerica Park. So again, the Cardinals still in Milwaukee at last check, waiting on additional testing. We expect to hear from the team later on today concerning what happened there in the latest round of testing. What we do know, according to our own Ann Rogers reporting at MLB.com, is that there have been 4 positive tests for the Cardinals since last Thursday. 3 of them were active players. And as we talk about the different ways the schedule has changed for clubs here related to COVID over the last week, remember this will be the 8th day in a row, and that 8-day span, the Cardinals have played just 2 games in Minnesota and lost them both. So after a very strong start to the season, certainly a major disruption here the last several days for the St. Louis Cardinals.
I need a few injury updates before you go. We mentioned earlier about Shohei Ohtani, 23 months removed from Tommy John surgery. Now there's some discomfort, velocity's down. What's being said within the organization about him and his health?
Well, Lorna, I spoke with a source recently in the last 30 minutes or so who said that there is still optimism it's not going to be a major injury for Shohei Ohtani. That's very encouraging. Of course, we have to wait to see what the final results are on that. But I think 3 very concerning data points, according to our own Rhett Bollinger at MLB.com, were the fact that his last 3 pitches yesterday were all below 90 miles an hour, and they were fastballs. So fastballs below 90, concerning for Shohei Ohtani. But as long as the MRI comes back clean, we could still see Shohei be the DH for the Angels tomorrow night in Seattle. But of course the question comes, how soon could he get back on the mound for a team that definitely needs his pitching arm, probably even more than his bat, as the Angels right now are at 3-7 on the season.
And it is a swollen finger for Mookie Betts. If any team can cover it, it would be the Dodgers. But is day-to-day what we're dealing with there?
Right, Lauren. The X-rays that were negative on that for Mookie Betts yesterday, so that's good news. Still day-to-day, as you mentioned, and probably a good sign that in the same at-bat as our Ken Gurnick had reported at MLB.com, the same at-bat that he sustained this middle finger injury, he actually went on to homer. So much like the Dodgers overall, even if there's an injury or a setback, of course, Clayton Kershaw being on the IL, this team is so good. Best ERA in the league, most home runs in the league, a pretty great team there in L.A. Sources say Dodgers pretty good in 2020.
What about Mookie Betts, her face of MLB? JP Morosi on the inside corner. Very
love it.
interesting stuff. Robert, 1 vote for Aaron Judge over here.